So I'm going to talk in this video about my experience taking antidepressants, in particular Sertraline, and answer the question as to whether it's been a positive experience and also whether I experienced any side effects. So first of all, just as a bit of context, I've been taking Sertraline for just over a year now, 50 milligrams to be exact, and I was prescribed Sertraline to help with symptoms of anxiety and depression. Anxiety was really the main one for me, and what that looked like was obsessing always about worst case scenarios, really bad social anxiety, to the point where I wouldn't go to certain events, etc. And just obsessing and ruminating all the time. That affected things like sleep, relationships, made me irritable, and that mental load, if you like, led to me to feeling really depressed. I was actually prescribed Sertraline a year before, but they just sat in my drawer because I was really worried about taking them, partly because of the stigma and also partly because I'd heard horror stories about side effects and all these sorts of things. So although I was prescribed them, they sat there, didn't take them until I hit kind of a crisis point, if you like, towards the end of last year, and I just thought enough's enough and finally accepted that help. Just to say as well that I thought it was important for me personally to try all the lifestyle changes that I could, first of all, before resorting to medication, if you like. So I exercised to the point of marathons, I gave up drinking alcohol, I meditated, I did talking therapy, but still found myself feeling terrible. And so, yeah, finally accepted that help. So the first 2 weeks is quite an unpleasant period, but nothing too dramatic. In terms of my experience, it was the first few days, I just felt like more anxious. And I think that's partly just mental because you know you're taking something that's like interacting with your body. So I felt a bit more anxious, a bit more on edge, but not to the point of like having a panic attack or anything like that. I also had an upset stomach, and that's something that you're probably going to experience, in your case if you go on Sertraline as well. But again, not to the point where it was, drastic or anything like that. And then finally, the last one that I experienced was brain fog. I remember going into a supermarket and looking at like the spices that they had. I can't remember exactly what I was looking for. And it was just like a blur to me. I couldn't kind of remember what I was doing or what I was looking for or whatever else. Again, it's not to the point that it massively affects your life, but you do notice it, and it takes a while for you to get used to it. Just a note on that as well, that in the beginning, make sure you have some system for remembering whether you've taken your pill each day, because otherwise with that brain fog, you can forget so easily and it's a bit of a nightmare. The good news though, is that pretty quickly, I would say like 10 days or maybe even 2 weeks, I was starting to feel noticeably better. I started to feel a little bit less anxious, started sleeping a little bit better, being a little bit less obsessive about negative emotions and worries. And I was thinking, this is working now. I'd say it took probably 6 weeks for it to kick into full effect, or maybe even 2 months. And in terms of what that looks like for me, it was basically just an improvement on all of the other things that I just mentioned. It's not a silver bullet, like you do still get anxious, you do still worry about things, at least on the dose that I'm on, 50 milligrams, but it's much more manageable. Whereas before, something would like worry me and I would go in a rabbit hole about it and I would obsess all day or all week or all month about one particular thing. I would notice like the negative thought or anxious thought would enter my mind, and within sort of like 5 minutes, I would be able to just bat it off, sort of thing. I wouldn't get lost in that, field of negativity, if you like. And I just found that made my day-to-day life a lot more manageable. I was more present when I was with people. I was looking forward to things more. My social anxiety was less, which means you can get out and about and do more things. And yeah, sleep was also a big thing as well. I basically had, I think, like anxiety-induced insomnia. I would just hit the pillow and be overthinking constantly. And that's part of the reason why I went on Sertraline in the first place. So yeah, to have that improved sleep was also a massive one for me. But yeah, to be honest, the change was night and day. Like my girlfriend really noticed it, and so did other people around me as well. But there were side effects, and I do want to talk about these. The first one that you might not have heard about with Sertraline is sweating. That one has been a bit of a nightmare for me, but I think it says something about, how bad the headspace I was in previously, to the point where I didn't care if it made me sweat a lot, and that made some social interactions slightly awkward from my perspective, because, the mental torment of anxiety and depression far outweighed, excessive sweating. Also, in winter, that's not really a problem, or even in spring, that's generally fine. It's just like the height of summer, I noticed that, if I was wearing a t-shirt and I was out and about walking or doing something, I would easily get to the point of sweating it through. And, in social environments, that can be a bit unnerving. I actually shared it on my Instagram page, and so many people came forward and said that was a side effect that they'd experienced as well. So yeah, just something to be aware of that might be the case for you, or it might not be. It doesn't happen for everyone. The second one is stomach issues. As I mentioned before, in the first couple of weeks of taking them, you notice you're going to the toilet a bit more frequently, and that's fine because, you think it's going to go away and you're going to get used to it. But I've noticed that over the past year, my tolerance to things like dairy, coffee, just all of these things that can be a bit tricky for a stomach anyway, my stomach just now has no tolerance for at all. And again, previously, with how bad I was feeling, this didn't outweigh, the positives that I got from the medication. So I just accepted that as a tax, if you like, as a side effect that came with the parcel, and would go away when I stopped taking it. Now, I'm still taking Sertraline now, so it's still worth it for me. But especially being someone that likes running, that likes being outdoors a lot, having a bit of a weak stomach is, a little bit of an annoyance, more than annoyance. It's a bit of a problem. So that's something that I'm starting to think about now. I've managed that in the meantime with a food diary. I've got an app, I think it's called My Symptom or something like that. And I note down what I eat, when, how that makes me feel. And that has allowed me to kind of navigate the sertraline stomach a bit better, if you like. Sex drive is the one that everyone asks about, and I won't go into too much detail, but I will say that it's had a little effect, but nothing too dramatic, not to the point where I would really even note it as a negative side effect. I do only take 50 milligrams, so that's probably partly to do with it. As you go up in dosage, maybe that's more of a pronounced thing. But again, to be completely honest with you, compared to how I felt previously with that anxiety and depression, I would take a 50% reduction in my sex drive all day long to, feel better in terms of those things. So yeah. So where am I now with it? It's been over a year that I've been taking it. I've had those side effects that I've just mentioned, but overall, I have to say it's been an extremely positive experience. I was at crisis point. I was unable to do my job properly. My personal relationships were suffering. I was stuck inside my own head the whole time. It was a horrible existence, and taking sertraline allowed me to get out of that, live a happy life. And yes, there were issues with it, and there still are issues with it, the ones that I mentioned, but they were far outweighed by the benefits of it. However, now that I'm in a better place mentally, I'm starting to feel that, having a really bad stomach, sweating a lot, and particularly being someone that does a lot of exercise in groups and running and all this sort of stuff, those side effects are now starting to become more of an issue for me, and I'm starting to think about coming off. My intention with that is probably like spring or summer next year. I'll look at coming off the medication, because I think it's good to do that at a time when the weather's improving, life feels a little bit lighter, a little bit happier, because I do know that coming off this medication is going to be difficult. Of course, with any medication, there are withdrawals, and with SSRIs, sertraline in particular, I know that they can be a bit challenging. I can't talk too much about that yet because I've not experienced it, but as soon as I do decide to come off them, I will document that process. Really, I look back now at the me of 10 years ago that was just suffering so unnecessarily, and had I not felt a stigma around taking medication, and had I been able to listen to someone's experience like mine back then, I would have just gone to the doctor and I would have accepted that help, because I would have saved myself a hell of a lot of unnecessary pain and discomfort in the ensuing years. So if you do go to the doctor and they do recommend this course of action, obviously it's everyone's personal choice, but I would just say be open to that, because it's helped me, and I know through my Instagram page sharing my journey, it's been a lifesaver for thousands of other people as well. And also just to say, if you are worried about the stigma around it, please don't be. The more of us that are open about our experiences, the better. And you wouldn't stigmatize someone that's asthmatic for needing an inhaler. You wouldn't stigmatize someone that's diabetic for needing insulin. There is absolutely no difference between that and needing to take medication for a mental condition. We do this bizarre thing in society where we kind of draw a line at the neck, and if your condition is up here and mental, we treat it differently compared to if it's below the neck and it's a physical condition. It makes no sense at all. The body is one body. All issues are issues. And generally, if you have a medical condition, a good thing to do is to accept help from the doctor around it. I do sometimes see as well online, some people seem to be proud of the fact that they've struggled with these things, but not needed to take medication. And I just think that's quite bizarre. Like, imagine someone that's asthmatic telling you, yeah, I'm asthmatic, but you know what? I don't need to use the inhaler. You know, it would just be a really bizarre way of looking at things. So yeah, I don't think you need to take pride in dealing with these things alone. Talking therapy can help, medication can help. And if your doctor thinks it's right for you, they're pretty knowledgeable. Generally, I think it's a good idea to listen to them. But yeah, anyway, big love. I hope this was helpful. If you've got any questions, just chuck them down in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. There is nothing wrong with you if you need to take medication. It's been really helpful for me. And if you do need them, I hope it's helpful for you too. Peace.